Welcome guys to a brand new tutorial. This is the complete beginner's guide to Zbrush, episode 2, how to sculpt a very basic orc head. If you're used to sculpting and are used to Zbrush, this video isn't for you, but otherwise, let's begin. So all new beginners to Zbrush, welcome. So yeah, alright. So we start with a sphere, right? I'm just gonna pull myself down. Something like this. We start with a sphere, right? Yeah. So we're just gonna scale it down with R or W. You can use whatever, you know. Scale it down, and then use the move brush BMV, you know. And for this video, I'm not gonna have all of this like nice shortcuts on the screen as I had on the last one. Alright, now we're just gonna start with dragging out very basic head. You can see, very basic. Just pulling out the proportions, making it look like a head, kinda like this. And it's an orc, so I want some like ugly features. But I won't like use this matte cap, so change it from matte cap gray to matte cap basic. I have a special store-up material that just made this one a little bit more shiny, as you can see. So yeah, so just use basic material, and if you want to make it a little bit shinier, you can just go to material, modifiers, and then here specular curve and specular, you can change these two. So if you press the specular curve, you can see you can change the specular curve. And here, let's see, specular, you can drag it up and drag it down, and it's gonna change how shiny it is. So that's what I'm using. Then yes, the clay bullet brush BCB to just very quickly sculpt very basic neck, something like this. And then Dynamesh. So just, you know, drag outside, so just drag Dynamesh, control drag outside. We're gonna be more specific, something like this. Super basic. And here you have perspective, this button right here. You can turn off and on dynamic perspective, and shortcut is P apparently. Yeah, so just you can go between them. I'm gonna go between them a lot. Right, now just add a higher subdivision. Super simple. And I'm also gonna turn off the floor, because that's pretty distracting, I think. Right, and now we're just gonna create some kind of like eyebrows here. We're gonna create some kind of skull shape, because this all starts with anatomy, even when it's an orc. And you can see I want a big forehead, like this. Have an orc in mind. Something like this. Just, you see, I'm just blocking out the mouth and the chin right here. Blocking it out. Something like this. It looks very awkward right now. And here, just gonna add the skeleton. You can see, just adding the skeleton. Somewhat like this. Then turning this stuff upwards like so, and erasing this. And just hold down Alt. But I said that in the last video, so you probably remember that, right? Something like this. Alright, and now we're gonna make the eye cavity. Something like this, make them a little bit more square. As you can see, okay, give me 1 second, guys. I'm doing them like that, and not like that. So like this. Something like that. And then just do the same thing inside the mouth, and then just Dynamesh with a little bit higher level. So under geometry, and Dynamesh, making the resolution a little bit higher. And would you like to freeze subdivisions before entering Dynamesh mode? No. Like this. But that wasn't good enough, so I'm gonna make it a little bit higher. Something like this. Perfect. And I'm just gonna start with changing the proportions. I want more space for the mouth, so with the move brush, just pulling it downwards like this. And here, also pulling backwards just to create a sharper jawline. And now we're gonna create something more for the neck, so I'm just gonna mask out the neck with the mask pen. And with W, just drag it outwards. Something like this. And then with the move brush, just pulling the neck outwards. Yeah, you can see it doesn't look perfect out maybe right now. And then Dynameshing it, of course. Something like this. Nah. Take that back. Just smoothing this out a little bit. Using the trim dynamic. BTD is the shortcut. Just taking some of all of this stuff from the head and removing it. You can see super basic. And then I also want to drag the eyes backwards, and the same with the mouth. Something like this. Yeah, somewhat like that. And then just gonna remove some stuff around the neck. Just gonna make the clavicles. Then up from here, dragging the muscle downwards, like so. Something like this. Not too complicated, right? Alrighty. Now, just gonna block in some basic ears here. Not gonna do any detailed ears, we're just gonna have some shape there for it. Something like this. Alright, and now I want to start defining some shape. First thing I'm gonna do is just to add some kind of nose shape. You can see I'm just making very gentle brush strokes right here. Just going upwards, and I'm not only drawing like this, I'm also drawing like this. In more like where you lay all the clay strips on top of each other. And here making the fold from the behind here. Something like that. Then defining the skeleton here. And the lip upwards. Somewhat like that. And then just creating a little bit more of a chin here. Then these on the sides. You can see here how it becomes a little bit too thin. So to change that, I'm gonna use the Inflate Brush. So B for brush menu. Let's see if I can find it. Right here, Inflate. It's gonna inflate it up like that, and then Dynamesh. Move this a little bit backwards. Just moving around the proportions. Adding a very basic shape for the eye. Blocking in the main angry orc wrinkle. Just blocking in some shape at the side like this. As you can see, it's starting to look like something, right? And then here we have the jaw muscle, the side. So I'm just gonna erase here and add here. Something like this. And here the proportions look a little bit weird, right? So I'm just gonna move this upward a little bit and change it. Something extremely easy like so. Gonna have this weird orc mouth, Dynamesh it, and then just pulling this backwards, like so. And here just adding these shapes a little bit more clearly. And here I'm gonna make a little bit of like space in the front here. Somewhat like so, and here also make a little bit of space. Something like this. Right, let's see here now. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go and create some kind of eye here. So I'm just gonna sculpt a very basic eye shape, and then go like with a wrinkle like this. An eye bag here, of course. Something like that, and then just carving in with the damn standard brush. Some very basic, like, eye cavity here. Making sure it's a little bit more outwards and a little bit more round, so it actually could fit an eyeball within, you know. Right, and then just pulling this part downwards to make this like corner. Something like that. Then I'm actually gonna add the eyeball in there very soon. But first I'm just gonna change the skeleton structure. So it becomes more like this. Something like that. Maybe even pulling this upwards just a tiny bit. Making this a little bit more like so. And then just the clay buildup. Just erasing a little bit here. And then I want a little bit of like, I don't want full lips like around here, but I want the like bottom lip, I think it's called, yeah, right here. Right, and then something like this. Just very easily just building up like this. You see, when building the lip, I go like this, not like this, you know. So just building the clay on top of each other instead of just going with straight lines, because that ain't gonna look nice. Right, something like this. Now I'm gonna do a little bit more like on the Dynamesh right here. I'm gonna up the resolution a little bit more, and if your Dynamesh doesn't work, just like smooth a little bit in the corner and then try again, and it's gonna work. Something like this. Just gonna smooth it out a little bit. Okay, not that much. Maybe not even the eyes. Eyes, something like that, and the body a lot. Somewhat like this. Then subtool, append, sphere. Just scaling it down, making it into an eyeball like so. Something like this. And then just mirror and wield it under geometry, modify topology, mirror and wield. And then Control Shift to duplicate it, and make sure symmetry is on. Pulling it downwards so I also can make teeth with it. So I'm just gonna drag it downwards a little bit like this to be able to make some teeth. With the Move brush, just gonna drag it outwards like this. Using a very small size just to be able to drag the teeth outwards, and then a huge size or a bigger size, just making bigger adjustments. something like that, and then duplicating them, creating a lot smaller teeth, and then duplicating those and creating 2 more teeth. You can see you have your orc teeth. Super easy, right? It looks actually pretty cool out. Then going back to your main, like subtool, and just starting to sculpt in the eye here with the damn standard. You see I'm just doing like this. Go around eyes. Whoops. If that happens, just go back. Here adding an edge like so. A sharp edge. And then right here just adding a little bit more of eye bags. We're not gonna do super nice eyes in this short video, but something like that. You see I'm just dynameshed it. And here, just removing inside of the mouth, and then just very gently just adding some kind of like lip here around. And then adding these like shape on the side like this, that goes upwards. Here I'm just pulling it upwards so it looks kind of like some kind of air, or some kind of air like a mouth, like orc mouth. And then just adding the chin. Something like this, super basic. And then something like this. Adding this shape, so it goes upwards like so. Dynameshing that as well. Something like this. I just think it's starting to look a little bit cooler out. Somewhat like this, you know. And then right here, just very quickly adding this like orc nose. And just making sure that it actually looks pretty cool. Then going with the wrinkles like so, from the eye upwards like this. First I want to make a plane right here, and then making kind of like wrinkles towards the nose. We're gonna sharpen them up a little bit later. And then here, this fold right here, something like that, erasing a little bit here so the folds look a little bit bigger. You can see the proportions from the side is a little bit weird. Right, let's fix it. So just make the head something like that, from the neck a little bit inwards, and then making a bit more of a jaw. And then maybe just turning down the intensity a little bit. Smoothing it out. Something like this. Pulling this outwards with the move brush. Something like this. Just pulling it outwards from the back as well. Something like this, pulling the chin outwards. So you can see, just pulling and changing the proportions really quickly. Really simple, you know? Really simply, I mean. Like, you can just make a lot of differences really quickly. ZBrush is such a useful tool, you know? And then here, just exaggerating this fold. Let's add some wrinkles here as well, right? Not like that, like that. maybe not there, but like so, and then use the standard brush to just fill them in to make some volume. Like so. Right. Let's make the skeleton shape a little bit more clear here. Just using the trim dynamic to sharpen it up. Just indicate the planes extremely clearly. Here, just indicating some planes where I want them. Then some kind of like double or maybe even triple chin, you know. Just to make him look a little bit more like an orc. And then moving down the eyes and making him look a little bit more angry. Just like an orc. Then here, moving the like eye, like making it move around the eyeball. Make sure it's the same thickness all the way around. Gonna erase some of this clay that's on the inside. Then I'm gonna add a little bit more like this. Make sure symmetry is on. I'm gonna add something like this and then just smooth it out a little bit so you have kind of like where the eye is. Something like this. Then just pulling this outwards, moving this a little bit more inwards, and then just sharpening it up with very easily with some trim dynamic to make the planes more clear. Then here we can have that his like ears are just probably just lost in battle, so you can just make them a little bit weird like this. It's gonna look like really like hurt, so just gonna add a lot of volume like so. Just make them like he has lost them in battle, you know. Alright, something like this. Now just gonna smooth it out a little bit, and then I'm gonna change the alpha to alpha 06, and I'm gonna add a little bit more, not like that, maybe something like this. Just sculpt up these like wrinkles here with a little bit less harsh alpha, making the chin like this, making the side of the mouth like so, making this part. This is not really about the result in this video, guys. This is, I promise you can make this 10 times better. This is just about getting started with sculpting. And then here, just adding some more volume. Same goes to the neck. Something like that. Adding these like wrinkles here. You see I'm just using this to like create some cool looking wrinkles. Something like that. And then just adding this shape as well, a little bit more clear. And that goes for this shape as well. Something like that. Then just adding some volume here. Just making the eyes a little bit more slimmer like this. Gonna smooth it out a little bit. Something like this. And then just changing the proportions a little bit as well. Moving this part of the nose backwards and this part of the nose a little bit more forward. Make it look a little bit more like an orc nose. eyebrows downwards like so. And here we can just very easily sharpen up the eye. Just using the clay buildup, of course. So something like this, just sharpening it up so it's good enough from a little bit of a distance. Something like that. Here, just creating this shape here that I need. And then adding some more volume to the lips. Not lips, just this one lip right here. Because we don't have like a top lip, we just have a bottom lip, right? Something like this. We can just build some kind of like, we don't need to add like a lot of stuff to the mouth right now. This is just very basic. Though we can add a little bit of cavity inside of the mouth. Something like that, right? And now we're gonna add some wrinkles. So something like this. Just, as you can see, just sculpting them in. Lower intensity right here. Just sculpting them in. Just sharpening all this stuff up that we are now sculpted. Then here, adding the wrinkles. Like this. Adding the wrinkles. Around here, sharpening them up here. Around the mouth like this. Yeah, so it looks a little bit more like a top lip right here. Something like this. Just sculpting a little bit more wrinkles. There are no wrinkles in this corner here, but I'm just gonna sharpen up jawline and like the double chin a little bit. Then just adding some kind of wrinkles on the neck. Neck would need a little bit more work, as you can see, so you can probably make that a lot better yourself. And something like this. Right. And then something like this, just adding the wrinkles, super basic. Then here I just wanna something like this. And something like this is what I think I will have to end the video at, guys. Yeah, it's super basic orc head. I promise you can make it a lot better. Don't forget, you can post it on Discord and like post your results, you know. And otherwise, I'll see you next time.